Greetings, 'tis I, the Simon. I come bearing great kangaroo, large, large kangaroo. Anyway, this is my kangaroo review. This is a very Australian board made by a very Australian man that is available in stock right now in the description from an Australian vendor. Now this is kind of a special keyboard. It's what I would consider a extreme Southpaw, so the most Southpaw of Southpaw, full size or 100% keyboard, which is pretty cool. It's a full size. It gives you the benefits of having all the keys for a full size with not having the drawback of losing, critical mouse area, or if you're left-handed, very, very handy. So it's a pure aluminum. I believe it's around 2.7 kilos unbuilt. So built, it's about 3-ish kilos, which for a full size is fine. It doesn't need the weights, none of that stuff. It's got a relatively normal front height of about 22.5-ish, excluding feet. And if you use a desk mat, we all know that, it'll sink into the desk mat, all of that. It's a simple 7-degree or negative 7-degree angle. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, it's a nice little board by a nice little maker that I enjoy thoroughly. So it comes in this one color, which is a black top, silver bottom. You can see that I've got my my protection on, and that is to protect the keyboard because my hands are very sweaty today, and black anodization plus sweat, not a good time. So let's roll the intro and get into the spicy bit. What we have here is a keyboard. You've seen many, but probably none like this. So right off the bat, this is 700 Australian dollars in stock with free shipping. That's around about 450, 460 US dollars. And we'll do the financial breakdown later. It's a stellar deal for what you're getting. So let's do the disclosure. Let's get that out of the way. First disclosure about the keyboard. This was sent to me as a review unit. I was told by Eric of Keyboard Treehouse that I may keep it. That's against my rules, so I have to always pay for a keyboard or send it back or give it away. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do near the end of the video. This is a final version, essentially. It is going to look exactly like your version. It's going to weigh exactly the same as your version. It's going to come with the same stuff as your version. And yeah. Second part of disclosure is my biases. This is made by Jono. I know not a lot of you will know about Jono Caldwell, but maybe you've seen GMK Regal. That was the big purple bass kit with a billion keys in it. And when people reached out, well, not reached out, but when people in comments were like, "Hey, this is not going to hit MOQ," Jono was like, "Okay, I'll buy MOQ." That's the kind of guy Jono is. You may know him from the original Kangaroo. When this was originally designed, it was meant to be a full brass, like 9-kilo board that came in a nice wooden case, but that was financially prohibitive. And what we ended up was this, which is still the same board, not in a wooden case and not made out of brass, which is just fine. He also made the Wombat. The really big board with like 22 knobs on it with a brass version that's like 27 or 30 kilos. Jono is the type of guy, and I've known him for quite a while, which is why I am biased. Jono is the kind of guy that'll be like, "Hey, Simon, I've been working on some knobs." I'm like, "Oh, okay." He's like, I'm going to send you some knobs." It's like, "Okay, well, here's a knob. This one's made out of copper. It's nice and heavy." "Oh, okay, cool." "And here's another one. This one is made out of stainless steel. It's even heavier." "Oh, okay. What's this one, Jono?" "Oh, this one is made out of tungsten." What? Okay, so Jono is what we refer to in the industry as an incredibly based individual. And I love makers like Jono that are willing to have the balls to make a product that is not for everybody, but that does not necessarily, you know, hold back anything. This is kind of a holdback. Then again, I would prefer this over a full brass version of this. So anyway, my bias is I like Jono. I've known him for a while. He's a really cool guy. He's a really sweet guy. He's a decent designer. I like what he makes. I like his vision, and therefore I like this keyboard by default. But we'll talk about every bit of it, including my criticisms, all of that. All right, so let's get into it. So step one is what is in the box. There are no knobs in the box. Those are specialty Simon knobs. You can't have them, okay? Let me put on my second glove just for protection. Whee! Oh God, no, please don't screw this up on camera. What? Oh, I forgot my fingers. So something we're going to talk about a lot is those of you that have watched my content for a long time know that I have nerve damage in my left hand from a motorcycle accident. This board is basically designed for people that are left-handed, so I've been having a really hard time with it. Okay, so what's in the box? Well, comes in a hard case. Perfect. I love me a nice hard case. It's fantastic. I can take this to the office. It's not absurdly heavy. In fact, if I had a job right now, I'd take it to the office. It comes with a large microfiber cloth with a logo of our Lord and Savior, Jono Caldwell. Very cool. It comes with, I hate to say it, but it comes with foams, okay? There's foams. Here's one foam. Here's another foam. Actually, that's like force brake / gasket. So 2 foams, okay? So those have stayed in the little box they came in because this is a full size, and a full size keyboard is going to sound great. Like, I've already shot the sound test. It took a couple tries because people were driving around in their supercars and it was really, really fucking loud. Just Dubai problems. Anyway, so it comes with foams. It comes with microfiber cloth. It comes with 2 sets of stabies. So these are included in the price. I think these are like $25 stabs and you get 2 sets of them. So that's like $50 of value. And to be fair, they're good stabs when you get them for free. I wouldn't pay $25 for stabs personally, but it is what it is. Obviously, you get your case, you get your plate, and you get your PCB. All of those are in the keyboard right now. So let's have a look. So first things first, let's just get a feel for the design and aesthetics of the board. So up top, looks all right. It's not wing keyless. I prefer wing keyless, but that's just me personally. I think like with full size, it kind of makes more sense to like have the windowed keys or Windows keys. For me, I unbind these because I literally don't use keys in this placement. I did the same thing for my R1 Singa. I did the same thing for my Angle. Anyway, my Windows keys are here and here. So is Southpaw, is extreme Southpaw. So standard Southpaw would have your nav on the right side, and that would basically make it like a TKL in terms of how far out it sticks to the right. This is basically a 60%. You can treat it like a 60%. So I can put this on my desk as a 60% and have all the space for my hardcore gaming needs. Or alternatively, you know, if you're left-handed or you have a competent left hand that you can actually use, kind of handy to have access to your numpad as you have access to your arrows, as you have access to your control. Yes, I use Unix control, all at the same time. Is that my use case? No, because my left hand is stupid. But have you been looking for a Southpaw full size? Have you been wanting a full size, but been like, well, it eats up too much space on the desk. And my mouse, I'm not going to have space for all my 360 no scopes. Well, there you go. Now you can. Design-wise, it is very, very simple. We've got what looks like a 11mm bezel here and a 9mm bezel here. I can measure it, but I'm afraid I'm going to scratch it. And I don't want to damage a board that I don't own yet. So, okay, I'm just going to eyeball this. I'm not going to touch. Yeah, that looks like 1 centimeter. So not 11. I was mistaken. And that is roughly 8. That looks like more than 8. Okay, my terrible calipers say this is 10 mil and 8 mils. Realistically, it's probably 11 and 9, like I guessed at the beginning. This ain't my first rodeo. So fairly simple top. Obviously, the gaps are unique to this keyboard. It uses a unique PCB. It's not like you're going to go out and get an aftermarket PCB for this and be like, oh no, the gaps don't match up. So fine. Edges have a little bit of curve to them. Of course, we've got a small little chamfer. That's boom. We got a chamfer all the way around, just softening up the design. Fine. From the side, we can see that it is seamless. So you've got a black top, sits over a silver bottom. Cool. Do these actually help for being able to pick up your board? Yes. So generally with non-flat sides, you want a little bit of a grab area. Though I always pick up the board like this. I don't know why. It's just easier for me because I can one-hand it instead of having to grab it from over here. Anyway, long story short, top is fairly simple, seamless. We can see that the bottom does come out a little bit. It's further down than you'd think, so it's not full seamless. So technically from the front, if you were to put this on a desk and you were to put your head really far down, you could theoretically see the very bottom, especially with how thick these feet are. And on the back, we have ourselves a USB port, and it is a good USB port because it fits my big ass connector. That's how you know it's good. There we go. It's in. So lots of space for all your chunky boy connectors. You're not going to have an issue. I didn't presume you'd have an issue with a full size because with a full size, you've got plenty of space to spare. Finally, let's have a look at the bottom. First thing we see is there are a lot of screw mount points, and I've excluded like 4 of them. Reminder that this was originally designed to be like a 9 kilo piece of brass. So I get why you have all these screw points. The case screw points do not affect acoustics in any bad way. So I don't have a problem with a whole bunch of screw points. My only issue is if you're going to rebuild it, it's a lot of screwing, it's a lot of unscrewing. If you like screwing, boy, is this the board for you. So lots of screw mount points. All the screws are black. I don't really care about the screw color. It's fine. It uses the I think they're called the scuff feet, or just the AE board standard feet. They're really, really big feet. Thankfully, on a full size, they don't look that large. They kind of look like, yeah, it works. What's funny is they'll put these feet on like 65% or 60%. I don't know if they put on a 60%, but they definitely put it on 65s, and they look just massive. Anyway, there's a nice little curvature here of the bottom. Sorry, I'm like sweating through my gloves. So nice little curvature here. It's cool. So that means while it's sitting on the desk, this little bit protrudes and this little bit hangs over. It's a relatively standard design when it comes to design language. And of course, we have a nice, big, deep engraving of the Kangaroo. I need to get like waterproof gloves, guys. Let's have a look at that big ass Kangaroo. Look at that. We pet the Kangaroo. So yeah, that's the board externals. There isn't much going on. The anodization, at least the silver anodization, is good. I don't see any major graining. I don't see any striping. I don't see any splotting. Looks totally fine. And the top is just black. It's a good black. It's a little fingerprinty if your hands are as sweaty as mine, but then again, so is every single black anodization. Unfortunately, some of us are just cursed to leave fingerprints on everything forever. One very, 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 very important thing, I know we haven't gotten into the interior, is this uses a thick plate. Okay, according to my notes that Eric sent me, It says thick with 2 C's, alu plate. And he is not wrong. It is a thick plate. By default, this comes with a 4mm plate. And I am not a big fan of stiff plates. So we'll talk about it once we get there. But there is an option, it's not in the base kit, but there is an option to just have a standard 1.5mm FR4 plate. So if the thing that's going to ruin this board for you is the fact that the plate is thick, you can just buy a thin plate. Though, you know, I have urged Keyboard Treehouse, Eric, and Jono to just offer it in the base kit, maybe even like bump up the base kit price, but like everything is locked in as a in-stock product. They've already ordered all the units, they've ordered all the plates, they've ordered everything, so it is what it is. Let's get inside. There isn't too much to talk about when it comes to the exterior, but we can talk about the interior. Let's see. These are M3s, if I'm not mistaken, because the bag is actually labeled. Check that out. Thank you for labeling your bags. All right, where's my M3? That's a 2. That's a 3. There we go. Does it fit? Nope, I was lied to. Is it a 2? It's a 2. I have been bamboozled. All right, so obviously there are a buttload of screws. Simon, will you do a screw review? Here's my very short form screw review. There's too many damn screws. Like, that's the reason why I didn't put in all the screws, because it's just so much effort to like do it and undo it every time you want to do something to the board. I mean, generally with a full size, it's not a form factor where you're going to change up your builds all the time. Like, this is a tried and true like form factor. Even with like the extreme Southpaw, this is the kind of board where you're just like, this is going to stay at my office or in my workshop or in, I don't know, in my water slide room if you're that rich. Like, this is a board that's going to basically stay in one spot. And as such, it's a board that's going to basically just have, you know, one build in it as opposed to multiple builds. Still though, you know, if you screw up the stabs or, you know, something sounds a little wonky or you have to like resolder something, it's not great. All right, we're nearly there. The final screw. All right, there we go. Of course, as is customary, we have to count the amount of screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are 16 screws to close this board, which is too damn many. This could have been done with 6. Again, this was designed to be a full brass piece, so I get it, I guess. And, you know, if you're a German designer, for example, more screws equals more good. So you Germans, you'd love this. All right. There we go. Single PCB, no daughter board. One thing that I do want to talk about prior to going into the internals is this is at a 7-degree angle. I will show you. Yeah, sorry, this is hard to do. All right, so we have ourselves here a 7-degree angle. And if I wanted to, I can do this. This and this. And yes, the USB port still works. I'll prove it to you. There you go. It works. And it is now a negative 7-degree angle board. So when I originally built this, I built it at negative 7-degree angle to just get a feel for it. And I do like the feel. For, you know, again, for a set it and forget it work board, if negative angle is something that helps you out, yeah, go for it. Absolutely go for it. I then took it apart and put it at a normal angle because it sounds more correct at a normal angle. It's to be expected. You know, when we hear keyboards, we know that it's thicker on this side and thinner on this side. And as such, we are used to that type of acoustic response. But when you have a negative angle board, then this is the thick side and this is the thin side. And it hurts my brain. But if I was somebody that wanted a negative angle board, and a full size, and a Southpaw. There you go. So there we go. Let's have a look at the bottom. It's a big ass single piece. Decently chunky, as to be expected from something seamless. There's some engravings on the bottom. We have Kangaroo up here. We have our Lord and Savior Jonah Caldwell X AE boards. And we can see the cutout here for the USB port, as well as here, that way. It's reversible. And when I say cutout, I don't mean the actual cutout, because the port is up here, but it just makes a little bit of space. It's a cool idea. It's got to make space for the PCB. So fully reversible, very cool. We can see a whole bunch of little ridges. Those ridges are where the plate would go. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this can be mounted in a pseudo gasket way, like a pressure fit gasket. And like Jono explained it to me, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds kind of sussy, so I'm not going to do that. So I just top mounted it, because top mount is based. So bottom, not much to talk about. It's a good big piece of aluminum. Let's put it aside. Alrighty, and here we have our top. Let's try and get the plate PCB combo out as we talk about the mount. So I have almost all the screws in here, and yes, there are a lot of screws, just like for the case mounting. I have omitted this screw and this screw, so these right here, and those match up to right under the space bar. It was mostly for acoustics, and it did help a lot. The space bar sounds a little bit deeper, as opposed to just like super dense. Jono has confirmed that it's totally fine to just not mount these 2 points. This is a thick plate issue. If you get the standard thickness 1.6 mil plate or 1.5 mil plate, you're going to be just fine. You could probably use all the mount points, or see which mount points you want to have and just do those. Thankfully, these internal screws are the same as the external screws, so single screwdriver is all you need. So I am not a thick plate enjoyer. Thick plates normally are very painful for me to type on. However, this has been the least painful, I guess. I don't understand how or why. And even though I've spent many weeks with this board, I still have no explanation, because it's a thick plate. It sounds like a thick plate. Thankfully, that's kind of offset by the fact that you're dealing with a full size. A full size by default is just going to sound better because you have more space. You have more material to deaden the case sound. You have more internal space to dissipate the airborne sounds or airborne vibrations. All right, let's pull this out real quick. Yep, that's how you get all the screws out. All right, let's get all these screws in the screw corner. All right, so case top, again, it's seamless. So the bottom basically fits into the top. So there's no need for alignment pillars or alignment tabs. We can see all of our plate mounting points across here. They mount relatively deep into the case because, of course, it is a thick plate. We can see our literally 16 case mounting screw locations, as well as a little bit of a hook mark, but it's internal, so that's fine. Here, I'll show you so you guys see what I'm talking about. Right there. Come on, camera. Come on, buddy. All right, there we go. So right there, see that little hook mark? Yeah, that's it. Not a big deal. It's black. You're gonna see a hook mark somewhere. Yeah, looks fairly simple, clean. Got our USB cutout here. There's no daughter board on this because there's a billion mounting points. You're not gonna get a unnecessary amount of bounce or flex out of this. So There's two reasons people will go with a daughter board. Reason number one is your plate is so flexy or bouncy that the port itself is going to move up and down and therefore just like break. Option number two is you want your port placement to be lower or to be in a position that you can't naturally extend out of the PCB. In a case like this with a full size, you're chilling. You can just have your port directly on your PCB. No harm, no foul. No need to overcomplicate it. Again, this is a board that all inclusive is incredibly cheap. All right, so that's our top. Not much to talk about. All right, plate and PCB assembly, a bit more to talk about. So we'll start with the PCB. It's got a little kangaroo on it. It's cute. Colors are nice. It's not doing anything super fancy, you know. There's no RGB memes, there's none of that. Nice, clean, simple PCB. It was done by Zealous. If you guys are unfamiliar with Zealous, he is another Australian man who's a very nice guy. Zealous. And apparently he made this in the year 2322. Controller is a STM, which I have issues with sometimes, and sometimes it's fine. I sometimes have issues with flashing them because I'm stupid, and sometimes they take a long time to initiate or initialize once plugged in. But I haven't had a problem with this board at all. So I don't think it's all STMs, it's just particular STMs. I think a very smart PCB man, Sipolot, explained it to me once, and I just forgot all about it. We have a physical reset switch, which is nice. A top-facing reset switch would have been better, but again, you're dealing with a thick plate. It kind of mucks everything up, and you're going to add cost. So with something like this, where you're trying to go, you know, very minimalistic, very pragmatic of a design approach, yeah, it's fine. Bottom side reset, at least there's a physical reset switch. You know, jumpers or pins are also fine, and it is what it is. We can see that the port is penised. That is the technical term for when the port goes outside of the PCB area by a notable amount. That is definitely a penised PCB. It's not as much as something as the Fox Orange 80, but we do see that here. PCB is good. There are no markings for what's what on the back. Then again, this is kind of a full size. It's a standard layout, even though it's Southpaw. Anybody knows where everything goes. It's not freaking rocket science. Bottom row support includes good bottom row and normie bottom row, of course, and your numpad area gives you support for a full 1U. So if you want to split your 0, you want to split your plus, you want to split your return, you can split to your heart's content. All right, let's have a quick look at the plate. Just get some caps off. So haven't had a issue with the PCB. Flash is just fine. Remap's just fine. The plate has no meme cuts, none of that. It's just generally a very simple, well done plate. You can see a cut here that allows you for stepped as well as non-step control. Sorry, caps lock for the uninitiated among you. But yeah, there's no meme cuts, there's no nonsense. It's just a big old slab of aluminum. I think the plate alone is just shy of a kilo or something like that. Like it might be like 700 grams because it is 4 millimeters thick. Okay, this one we can actually caliper. Yep, that's 4 millimeters. Or, yeah, that's 4 millimeters. It registers at just under 4 millimeters on these terrible calipers, which I assume means it's 4 mil. I'd love to show you the bottom of the plate, but this is the only plate I have, and I don't want to desolder all of this. But due to the fact that this is a thick plate, each switch cutout is machined on the back. That way, when you press the switch into it, it'll actually clip. So you may not know this, and of course I don't have a single switch on my desk, but if we pretend that this is a switch, when you're clipping a switch into a PCB, there are little clips on the bottom that are built for around about 1.6 millimeters, and they will, when you put it into a plate. When you put it into a plate, dear God, my brain today. When you push a switch into a plate, there's little clips on the sides here. Not to be confused with the little feet that go in the PCB, but the little clips, once you put them into a plate, will kind of lock. That's why you have to use a switch puller to pull a switch out. You can't just like brute force it, otherwise you're going to mess the clips up. That's not going to work if your hole is like 5 millimeters deep, or in this case 4 millimeters deep. But what you can do is machine the bottom of the plate to allow those clips to come in. I would love to just like show you a picture. If I have a picture, I'll put it on screen now just so you get an idea of what the back looks like. Unfortunately, I don't want to desolder a full size just for that. All right, let's do the obligatory screw review. There's more. All right, so here's my screw review. There's too many damn screws. These look like, what is it, zinc oxide coating, I believe. So that's a coating that will kind of rub off if it gets to like, you see how there's like little shiny portions? It's a coating that will kind of flake off as you use it. It's fine. They're not amazing screws. These are just good screws, you know. They're not knurled. They're not big fancy PVD stuff. They're fine. Give them a solid like 6.5, maybe 7 out of 10. Decent screws. Ham, why you so weird? He's just licking a box. I would show you on camera if I could, but he's in a weird spot. Okay. So, what do I recommend build-wise? I went with A-Board's Blacks, spelled incorrectly, which are keyboard treehouses like switch. It's a full nylon switch with a palm slider. It's comparable to basically a full nylon GAT or a full nylon Cherry or a full nylon anything else. So, and I have some PBT here. This is CRP 2551 HAD, which is a German themed set that looks beautiful on big boards. I love it. So my build recommendation is entirely based on what plate you get. The stock aluminum plate that you get with the board will sound a little dense sounding. Doy, of course it's going to sound dense. It's going to sound dense because it's a big old piece of metal. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to offset that dense sound. And generally the way you can offset a dense sound is to try and deepen it up a little bit. So what I've done here is I've put a semi high pitched switch. So not like a milky top or something like that. So a semi high pitched switch and then a deep sounding cap on top of that. So what does the combo do? It will increase the noise because when something is dense, it's quiet and it's kind of higher pitched. So we're trying to make it louder and lower pitch. So by having a slightly higher pitched switch and then a nice thick keycap on it, you can get a nice sound out of it. In terms of feel, it's going to feel like a stiff plate. It doesn't necessarily feel like it's a 4 mil plate, even though it is a 4 mil plate, or like 3 point something, whatever it is. It's not finger breaking. And, I thought my issue with this, using it over the course of multiple weeks, would be that this is just going to hurt my fingers to type on. To be fair, it hasn't. So I don't know what's going on here, but it's okay. It's okay to type on. It's not finger breaking. If you love stiff plates, you'll love this. It's great. And if you don't love stiff plates, still give this a chance with the stock plate. Maybe pick up the standard 1.6 mil plate or 1.5 mil plate on the side, but give this a shot. It's not as bad as you think it is. For the non-standard plate, for the additional plate, the standard thickness plate, the 1.5 mil plate, at that point, I'd have to guess because I don't have a 1.5 mil plate, but I know how FR4 would work with a board like this. It's going to sound a lot deeper and more boomy by default, as opposed to more dense. And for something like that, if you want to really, really get all the boominess, which might be a little bit too much boominess, again, you can go with something like Milky Tops or Cherry Nixies, like the modern Nixies, and maybe some ABS. I wouldn't necessarily go PBT on it because then you're deepening it way too much and you still want to get a little bit of sparkle out of it. Sure, you can go that route, or generally the route that I'd go is try and, counteract the boominess. So this is something that happened to me on my my Singa Jaguar build, and it was just such a boomy sounding board, which I liked. But if you put in like low pitched switches and low pitched caps, it went too far. So I counteracted it with SP Star linear grays, which are like a higher pitch switch, and then I put ABS on it, and that kind of just tied it together perfectly. And I feel like in the situation in which you go with the FR4 plate on this in place of the 4mm thick boy plate, a high pitch switch and higher pitch keycaps. So that might be DCS, that might be ABS, that might be whatever you're into. I mean, if all you have is PBT, throw some PBT on it. But like, I'd recommend trying to scale it back a little bit to at least make the board sound cohesive and nice. I guess that's my recommendation. All right, so let's put this back together as we talk about the price point for this. I might need a keyboard plugged in for this. You guys don't want to see me try and do mental math. All right, this is round about 700 Australian dollars, which is round about 450 US dollars. Exchange rate might be different at the time that you watch the video, but let's just work with 450 US dollars. All right. So at 450 US dollars, you have this board in stock. I believe it's in stock. Like the units are ordered. I think they're just like sitting in a warehouse or like waiting at the port or something. But I'm going to treat this as in stock. Generally, I consider a fair markup for a in-stock project versus a group buy to be about 15 to 20%. Okay, we're going to use the calculator on my phone. Okay. So starting at $450, I consider a fair markup for in-stock to be 15, 20%. Let's say 20%. So that drops it down to, if this was a group buy board, it would be $360. Already for a full size, that's great. Additionally, it comes with free shipping. Now, this ships out of Australia, and shipping out of Australia is expensive. But let's just say it isn't, okay? Let's just say shipping out of Australia is about equivalent to shipping out of anywhere, which is not true, but let's say that it is. And average shipping for a full size is, I mean, it's volumetric, it's going to be more than a TKL, but let's say it's round about TKL numbers, which is round about $60. So we remove $60 from there. Now we're at $300 flat for this board. Comes with 2 sets of stabies, and these are pricey. These are like 20, 25 bucks a pop, but I mean, let's compare it to less expensive stabs. Even though these are pretty good stabs, let's compare it to like picking up like a $10 set of stabs, and you get 2 sets of them. So that's minus 20 bucks. All right, that gets us to round about 280 US dollars. I know that it's like not the most intuitive financial calculation, but it's a basic premise of like, it's in stock, it's free shipping, you get free stabs, and it's a full size. So this is the equivalent of, at group buy, picking up a decent full size with a 4mm fucking plate at $280. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. I consider this a fantastic deal. And yes, I know that the layout is absolutely not for everybody, but I said it round about a month ago, if not a little bit like more than a month ago, that listen, everybody should own at least one full size board. And if your issue with full size is like, oh, it eats up too much space to the right, then this is the perfect board for you. Oh, but I don't use a numpad. You understand that the year is 2024, my dude. You can remap every single one of those keys to be macros. You can put relegentables on them. You can do whatever you want. The future is now. The future is literally now. So there's a lot to work with. There's a lot to work with. Let's not forget that, like, even as, Keybinit or, keyboard stand like bait. So just like a display board, a full size is going to show you a full key set. So if you're trying to show off like a nice key set, you definitely want to go full size, or at least something with a numpad, 1800, something like that. Anyway, I think that this is very, very fairly priced. And I think that this is a very cool design by a very cool guy that I respect, okay? One second. My fingers got caught in there. It's cool. The only cons is, yes, it comes with the thick plate, and you have to pay money to, get any other plate. It is what it is. I mean, the original vision when Jono built this was for it to have a thick plate and for it to be built out of brass. So thank God he at least, changed his mind on one of those two things. Because this in brass would have been upwards of $1,000, maybe $1,200 plus like $300 shipping. So thankfully we got ourselves cute little full size. It was actually pretty well done. It's a board that I like very much. And like all full sizes, or most full sizes, the nice thing about it is it's gonna sound freaking great. So let's move on to the sound test. As always, if you care about the sound test, make sure to put on headphones and adjust your volume until the background noise of my room matches the background noise of your room. And then you'll have a pretty accurate sound test. All right, I'll see you there. Hello, summary enjoyers. Hello, people that skipped through the rest of the video to get to this point. I'm going to make this extra hard for you. All right, so the Kangaroo, okay, made by our boy JC, okay? We all know how I feel about JC because we watched the video, okay? And we all know how I feel about large boards because we watched the video, and we watched the other video from a month ago that's literally called I Love Big Keyboards and You Should Too. This keyboard is round about $450 in stock with shipping for free. And we did a financial calculation in the video that proves mathematically using our detective skills that this is a exceptionally well-priced board for what it is. Oh, but Simon, it's a big board. It's going to eat up the space on my desk. No, it's not, because it's basically a 60. Look at all the room for activities. Look at all the room. Oh, but Simon, I'm not left-handed. That's fine. Oh, I don't use a numpad. Macros. I like this. I like this board very, very much. Now, my rules state that I don't get to keep a keyboard, even if the maker has sent it to me and told me, hey Simon, you can keep it for free. So I need to either pay for it, return it, or give it away. Unfortunately, I am currently unemployed and broke, so I cannot afford to pay for this keyboard. So at one point, this keyboard will be given away to somebody through the normal ways that we do a group buy, in which it'll go to somebody that deserves it, somebody that has been thoroughly background checked, etc. If I had the 450 US dollars right now, I would happily buy this because I love me a full size. Even there's so much room for activities. And if you watched, then you know that you can negative the angle. So you can go with a -7-degree angle, which for like daily office usage, if you have a job and work in an office, is spectacular. I am so happy that I have received this board. I'm going to be so sad to part ways with it. Unless, I don't know, unless I find like 450 bucks that falls out of the sky, then maybe I'll pay to keep it. This is a nice board. It's a nice sounding board. For a board that forces you into a thick plate by default, of course you can buy a standard plate on the side, it doesn't feel as bad as other thick plate keyboards. I know that sounds like a low bar, but it is not painful to use. It's enjoyable to use. I'm going to blow your mind, okay? This is my favorite keyboard of the year. This is the one keyboard I've reviewed this year. But this is my favorite keyboard of the year, okay? Whoever's coming next has got a high bar to clear. It's simple. It comes in black and silver only. And by that I mean your top is black and your bottom is silver. You don't get any choices. And your plate is black, okay? But all of this was done to just make the price what it is. And the price is good. And it's made by a good maker. Even if you're not super hot about this board, remember, Jono, okay? Jono is the type of man that just wants to make the wildest shit he possibly can. And by buying a Kangaroo, you're supporting him in his future endeavors to make wild, crazy shit. Like this tungsten knob. You could have 22 of these on your Wombat if you're willing to pay $2,000 just for the knobs. He's a wild man. Jono is a wild man, and if we do not support our wild men and allow them to roam free in the great Australian outdoors, then what kind of hobby is this? Anyway, that's my video. Obviously, this is a great keyboard, 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, somewhere up there. If I had a functional left hand, this would easily be a 10 out of 10, but my left hand is stupid, so it is what it is. If you liked the video, drop me a like. If you like keyboard content and you want to see more keyboard reviews, consider subbing to the channel. Consider hopping in the Discord, link in the description. There's a Patreon, and that's a great way to support my YouTube endeavors because this channel has no sponsors except for you guys. I don't take free shit. I have to pay for what I keep, and I have to spend generally 4 to 5 weeks with a board to, you know, learn all the intricacies before I shoot a YouTube review. And I usually make like 10 bucks from, you know, ads. So if you want to support me, there's plenty of ways you can support me. If you don't want to support me, that's fine. I still love you just the same. And I'll see you guys in the next video. I don't know what it's going to be. Actually, I do know what it's going to be. It has to do with switches. Somebody's going to be really upset. All right. Mwah. Bussy town. Do we bussy the town? Bussy, bussy town. Can it do the roundabout? Oh god, it's so huge. Oh my god. Okay, this fails the bussy town check. You can move it up and down easily. It's the left to right that's an issue. Alright, so like this is generally what you're going to be doing on your desk. So as long as you're not trying to drive it around bussy town, you can do it with 2 hands. Yeah. It's a wide load though.